For the purpose of this course, we're not really concerned with how much a virtual machine costs if you run it in Azure, but to compare that to our on-premise environment, I do want to show you how you could actually go about determining what the cost would be. Now, if you run a virtual machine in Hyper-V on-prem, you just have your licenses and the virtual machine just runs. So if you have like the data center edition we discussed, you don't need any virtual licenses. You just install Hyper-V, you will buy your Windows Server operating system, and you just create a virtual machine. No additional cost beyond those things. In Azure, you have to pay for the resources that you actually use. So on this website, azure.microsoft.com, you can go to pricing, and there is an Azure pricing calculator. It'll let you estimate the cost for any Azure product or service. You'll see virtual machines is in the list along with every other component in Azure. So if you go through all of these, you can get an estimate for anything that you could ever purchase in Azure. Well, I just added my virtual machines, and I'm going to select this view for that virtual machine added. Now, if we scroll down a bit, my virtual machine here, well, you can see this one here is like an example, really. Says it's going to cost me $6,000 a month. That's more than what most people need. So how you get the actual cost, you just design here what you think your virtual machine would actually require. So I can choose what region I want this to run in. You'll see the United States, United Kingdom, United Arab Emirates, the UAE, Switzerland, Norway, Korea. So wherever in the world you need this to run. Well, I'm going to choose Central India. I can choose the operating system. Actually, before I do that, notice the cost already changed. So Central India, $6,469 a month. If I choose Japan West, $6,900 a month. So Azure does have a different pricing structure depending on where things run, as in which region. So you can kind of just play around and say, if I put this here, it costs X amount of dollars. Another region, it'll cost a different price. Now, normally the price is not drastically different. Usually it's just a couple of dollars, but like in this example, it was a few $100 difference. But you choose your region, Linux or Windows for the operating system. I'm going to leave that on Windows. I can choose OS only, or I could say I want like a SQL server to be bundled with this. That'll just increase your cost a bit. For the tier, I can choose basic, low priority, or standard. Now, standard's the default, and that's where most virtual machines actually stay. Just normal resource consumption. For the category, depending on what you want to use this for, I can say I want this to be compute optimized. That is processing, like CPU. GPU would be the graphics processor. So if this is going to run some type of application that requires a high level of graphics rendering, you could have it GPU optimized. If it needs a lot of memory, maybe it's going to host a database, then you would want memory optimized. Maybe it is going to have a lot of storage associated with it, so you want fast access, a high level of read and write to your storage. But all this does is change the configuration here. Like how many virtual CPUs, how much memory, how much storage. I'm just going to leave it on all for now. For the instance series, these are just different classes of virtual machines. Now, for our purpose here, we don't care what the different classes actually are. But if you click on something here, like right now, this is on this F64. But you can see it's 64 virtual CPUs, 128 gigs of RAM, and that costs me almost $4 per hour. Well, I'm going to click this DV2. You'll see that's one virtual CPU down from 64, 3.5 gigs of RAM down from 128, and it only costs $0.070. So the monthly cost for that is only $51 compared to the over $6,000 for that F series we had. Now, depending on how many virtual machines you want, you can just increase that number. If I need this exact configuration, you can say you want 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the overall cost was $51. Here, it says this compute. I can do a pay-as-you-go. That just means you pay for resources that you consume, but you can cancel your subscription anytime. You can delete the virtual machine at any time, and you don't owe any additional money to Microsoft. So pay as you go, $61.32. And you can see that raised the total to $94.90. If I choose a 1-year reserved, I get a 54% discount. So that drops to $28 just for the virtual machine. And that lowered my cost here overall to $61. 3-year reserve, 71%. The monthly VM cost, just over $17. And that is down to $51 a month overall. Now, where the other cost comes from, the Windows license, where it says OS Windows license included, that's our $33.58 per month. So this is going to be licensing and your compute. Virtual machine is the one I selected here. So my total cost, $51.41 per month, is the estimate for the total cost. And that is just an estimate. But then you could select disks, storage, bandwidth. You could go through virtual network settings. And this will just give you an estimated cost for your overall configuration. So you just have an idea of how much you're actually spending per month. But again, that is just on the azure.microsoft.com site. You just go to pricing and Azure pricing calculator. So very useful.